Well, I'm not going to lie, 2020 has seemed like a dark year. Elections, riots, fires, quarantines, and social distance have made it seem like the year was longer, harder, and darker than most. Yet in the darkness of winter, Christmas heralds the beginning of hope. We need some flicker of light, some flicker of hope. And hope comes with Christmas. Light comes with Christmas. Here's what was prophesied about Christmas centuries before Jesus came. The people who walked in darkness have seen a great light. Those who dwelt in a land of deep darkness, on them the light shined. For to us a child is born, to us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder, and his name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. Of the increase of his government and of peace there will be no end. We are not the first people to feel the darkness close in. We're not the first to wonder if light would ever dawn again. Into a world darkened by war and famine and disease comes the promise of a child who would deliver the world from darkness and govern the world with light. That was a long time ago. People nowadays, they know better. After all, we're scientific, we're educated. We know there can't be a virgin birth. We know there can't be a star or wise men or that sort of thing. It's as though now we're closed into a box with no windows. In spite of all the troubles of this year, our world has closed itself off from the miraculous, from the supernatural, and from the transcendent. And that's all fine, except that when you rule out the miraculous and transcendent, you rule out the advent, the inbreaking of light into the darkness. All you're left with is a closed, dark box. At one level, it may be satisfying to be scientific. At another, though, all that is left for you is reason to despair. If the box is closed, nothing outside will rescue us or change our world. And that's a spiritual matter. The darkness we experience is more spiritual than it is anything else. We would do well to pay attention to it this Christmas. The Bible says, in their case, the God of this world has blinded the minds of unbelievers to keep them from seeing the light of the gospel of the glory of Christ, who is the image of God. For what we proclaim is not ourselves, but Jesus Christ as Lord, with ourselves as your servants for Jesus' sake. For God, who said, "Let light shine out of darkness," has shone in our hearts to give the light of the knowledge of the glory of God in the face of Jesus Christ. The light comes when you see God in all his perfections through the person of Jesus. Jesus is like a prism that displays the colors of the glory of God. Light dawns with Jesus, and when it does, you see God in all his glory. We each have some simple choices to make about this light. Are you going to let it in? Are you going to be open to the prospect that maybe all you see isn't all there is? Or are you going to insist on living in a naturalistic, closed box with no windows? We all have influences, ones the Bible calls the gods of this age, that encourage us to keep the lid on the box closed and to keep out the light. But will you open it up? This is a simple thing, but it's impossible to do without God's grace. God, in the beginning, made light shine out of darkness, and he can bring light into your life again. That's not near as hard for him to do as it was to create light in the first place. If you can't see the light, the hope that comes from Christ, then just make a simple prayer. God, would you open my eyes so that I can see the light? I need light and hope right now. Thank you for your help. Like I said, this is a spiritual matter. You can't see or detect anything spiritual in a dark, closed, non-supernatural box. Spiritual things get shut out. So make the spiritual decision to ask God for light and then follow it this Christmas. You can give yourself and your family no greater Christmas present this Christmas than to open yourself up to the light.